How important was it to make a succinct closing argument?
Very important, and obviously the emphasis on being optimistic is important, but he keeps stepping on this, talking about, Arnold Palmer's privates and, saying, 39 minutes of dance music. This is the most disciplined campaign his staff has run, but he remains undisciplined, and in the next 12 days, you need to have him saying that kind of thing with a little bit more depth and substance to it, and less on the sort of the riffing that has caused people to, if he says something sort of wild, the media is going to cover the wild thing rather than the substantive thing, and the substantive thing is what's going to sell the voters.
That was longtime Republican strategist Karl Rove on Fox News yesterday, criticizing former President Trump for his words and actions in these last days before the election. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris is doubling down on her latest criticism of Trump, telling reporters in Pennsylvania yesterday that the former president is tired from the long presidential campaign.
As for last night, yet again, Trump not showing up, refused to be a part of a CNN debate, and clearly his staff has been saying he's exhausted, and the sad part about that is he's trying to be president of the United States, probably the toughest job in the world, and he's exhausted.
Joining us now, author, columnist, and conservative writer Matt Lewis. Matt, good to see you this morning. It's certainly no surprise that Donald Trump's not showing any discipline. The only time any of us can remember that he did was in those closing days of the 2016 campaign, where he largely stayed off Twitter and stayed on message, and Republicans want to see him do that again. Do you see any scenario, particularly with his level of exhaustion, that could happen?
Well, that's right. People forget, but Donald Trump sort of went dark at the end of the 2016 campaign, and he won. Will he replicate it? That would take humility. I'm not sure that Donald Trump has that humility. And part of it is that he's been a victim of his own success. He's always failed forward. Sometimes he's succeeded. Oftentimes he's failed forward. But I think the lesson that he's learned is, hey, do it your own way. Go with the gut. Get attention. And good things will happen. And so I don't think he's going to take advice from someone, a strategist like Karl Rove. And at the end of the day, I think the things that made Donald Trump so appealing to a lot of Americans could end up also sowing the seeds of his downfall. If he loses, we can look back at Arnold Palmer and other comments he made at this so-called closing moment and point to that.
So, Matt, your latest piece takes the idea that Trump might lose, but you suggest he could still run again in 2028. He'd be in his 80s at that point. You say he would do so because of his ongoing legal trouble. Tell us more.
Right. So this is an area where I've changed my mind. I actually wrote a piece like a year or two ago saying, well, the good thing about Donald Trump, if he is the nominee for a third time, is that this time surely he'll go away, right? But then I got thinking, and I think the answer is clearly no. Donald Trump has every incentive to keep running for president, or at least pretend that he's going to run for president. And I think part of it has to do with the grifting. As long as he is going to run for president, he's going to be getting attention. He can sell watches. He can sell Bibles. He can sell sneakers. His family can continue to cash in. He'll be treated with respect and invited on TV shows and all that stuff. And I also think there's a possibility, it becomes a little harder to go after him, to try to prosecute him if he is, in fact, angling to be the nominee of the Republican Party. It looks like vengeance. It looks like you are weaponizing the Department of Justice. And frankly, I just don't think anyone has the power in the Republican Party to stop him. So I don't see any reason why we won't be sitting here like 4 years from now talking about Donald Trump's closing argument.
Yeah, I agree. It should not be ruled out. Matt, I want to get your take on a pretty blockbuster story that posted late last night in the Wall Street Journal. They report that Elon Musk, since 2022, has been in frequent contact with Vladimir Putin. Mind you, this is after the invasion of Ukraine, and Musk and Putin have been having contact. And Musk, of course, is now Donald Trump's most visible surrogate on the campaign trail all the time, being promised an influential role in the government. He already has massive DOD contracts. Just talk to us about this moment here about Musk and how Republicans largely continue to embrace both him and Trump.
Right. Well, this is somebody who also has a lot of power to influence things like the helping Ukraine against Russia. I don't know if we're ever going to enforce the Logan Act. I don't know if it actually is enforceable, but it's becoming certainly problematic where you can have citizens just sort of freelancing, and in the case of Donald Trump, possibly doing some sort of diplomacy out of office. So that's a big discussion for another day. I just happen to think that Elon Musk is a very dangerous figure. And look no further than the disinformation that he advances on his own site X. He is constantly pushing propaganda and disinformation while simultaneously being a billionaire, someone who is incredibly powerful in terms of the way we as Americans communicate, and now apparently communicating with foreign leaders. And by the way, in 2024, this is like the 100th biggest story, maybe. It barely ranks, but it's something certainly that's scary and worth watching.
It is indeed scary how much influence this one man has over this election. And we know from Bob Woodward, Donald Trump also has been speaking to Vladimir Putin. Author, columnist, and conservative writer Matt Lewis. Matt, thank you so much.